Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. Can you believe we only have 3 more Mondays after today, and this school year will be over? That's incredible. Today, as we are doing our reading, we're going to focus on prefixes and suffixes. First thing you might ask yourself is, what is a prefix? A prefix is a letter or letters added to the beginning of a word to make a new word. Boys and girls, there are many prefixes. I only gave you examples of 3. I also told you what the prefix itself means, and then gave an example of how to use that word, how that word would look. So the first example is the prefix un. Un means not. So unhappy would be not happy. The next example is dis. The prefix dis also means not. You might hear someone is dishonest. That means that they are not honest. Certainly not a trait that we would want to be known by. The third example I gave you for a prefix is re. Re means to do again. One of the things we talked about with Earth Day this past Wednesday was the 3 R's: reuse, reduce, and recycle. So that means to do again with all of those base words. The word I gave you here for an example is reuse. In addition to prefixes, we're going to talk about some suffixes. And again, you might ask, Miss Ivy, what is a suffix? A suffix is a letter or letters that's added to the end of a word to make a new word. Remember, prefix is added to the beginning, and suffix is added to the end. I gave you again 3 examples of suffixes, although guys, there are many, many others. The first example I gave you is ed, walked. I walked to the store yesterday. Another example of a suffix is full, delightful. That means full of delight. The third suffix I gave you is smiling, ing, I-N-G, and the example then is smiling. I want you to notice something with the word smiling though. Smile is spelled S-M-I-L-E, but in order to add the suffix ing, we have to take away the E and then add the suffix ing. So you have to be careful that you're watching for that. Sometimes you double the final consonant, add a suffix. Sometimes you might change a Y to I, such as in the word try or trying. Sometimes you have to take away, like in this case, an E and then add a suffix. Before I start reading chapter 2 in our book today, let's take a look at the learning target for today's lesson. The learning target says, I can identify words that have a prefix and or a suffix and know the meaning of the word. Well, you'll probably ask yourself, Miss Ivy, if I can identify words with prefixes or suffixes, how do I know that I'm successful? So you are successful when you can identify words that have common prefixes and or suffixes, and you can understand how a prefix or a suffix changes the meaning of the root word. The root word might also be known as the base word. If you remember, last Monday, I started reading to you from a book called Mr. Will Needs to Chill, and this is by Dan Gutman. And this is a story being told by a boy named AJ, and AJ started out by saying he hates ice cream, but he really doesn't hate ice cream. He just doesn't like the strange flavors like some kids like. AJ was telling us that his principal, Mr. Klutz, and vice principal or assistant principal, Miss Jaffe, had gone on a camping trip. And he at first didn't know why they were going, but then Mr. Klutz announced that they were going to learn some new teaching strategies. And while they were away, the Dr. I forgot his name. Dr. Carbles is going to be filling in for the role of the principal. And one of the things they didn't like about Dr. Carbles is that they said he was kind of mean. Last week we were looking at character traits, so we identified that about him. Well, the kids all went out for recess. The bell rang and they went running out for recess, and they heard this sound that they love to hear. They heard the sound of Ding Dong Ice Cream Man. His name is Mr. Wills. And if you remember, right at the end of the chapter, they were all looking at Mr. Wills across the street from their playground. And AJ said, "That's when the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened." He said he wasn't going to tell us, but then he decided he would. But we would have to read the next chapter. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read chapter 2, The Great Escape. Guys, as I am reading, if I see a word that has a prefix or a suffix, I'm going to point those out to you. I'll tell you that there are probably going to be more words with a suffix than there are a prefix. I've looked through the chapter and that's kind of what I began to see. So I'm not going to stop and make a big deal about pointing it out because I don't want you to lose the fun and exciting meaning of the story. The Great Escape. Suddenly, a bunch of our teachers came running out to the playground. In front of all of them was Dr. Carbles. The word running has a suffix, and there you'll notice that you had to double the final consonant N before adding ing. And also the first word in that paragraph has a prefix. Suddenly, ly is a prefix. "What is that racket?" he shouted. "Racket? I didn't see a racket anywhere. Our school doesn't even have tennis courts." Oh, that's pretty funny because he's thinking a racket like as in a tennis racket, and Dr. Carbles is talking about the noise. "It's Mr. Will, the Ding Dong Man," somebody said. "Turn off that horrible noise," hollered Dr. Carbles. He and the teachers were holding their hands over their ears. I'm going to stop there and point out several suffixes. Hollered has an ed suffix. Holding has an ing suffix. And ears has an s suffix. Oh yeah, the ding-dong jingle drives grown-ups crazy. Nobody knows why. "I can't take it," shouted Dr. Carbles. "Make that awful music stop." It seemed like a good time to start chanting. "We want ice cream," I hollered. "We want ice cream." I thought the rest of the kids would join in and start chanting with me, but nobody did. I hate when that happens. Guys, I didn't stop to point out suffixes on that page because I just feel like that there's so many of them until I don't want you to lose the meaning of the story. "Get that truck out of here," Dr. Carbles shouted at Mr. Will. "Go peddle your sugary junk food someplace else." Mr. Will stepped out of the ding-dong truck and walked slowly toward the fence. "Oh, this is going to be good." "What did you say?" asked Mr. Will. "Beat it, ding-dong man," shouted Dr. Carbles. "I'll have you arrested." "This is a free country," Mr. Will shouted right back. "I can go anywhere I want." "Turn off that terrible music right now," shouted Dr. Carbles. "No," Mr. Will shouted back. Remember last week when I was reading, I pointed out to you that if a word has an asterisk, such as this, sometimes you might see a number, but in this case an asterisk, that tells us that there's probably some additional information on the bottom of the page. That's called a footnote. And so this does say, take that your sugary junk food someplace else. The bottom further explanation in the footnote says, "I've heard of pedaling a bike, but it would be weird to pedal ice cream." And you know what? It would be weird to pedal ice cream. And in this case, pedaling has a different meaning. In this case, pedaling means selling. The two of them were yelling at each other through the fence. It was awesome. Watching grown-ups argue is fun. And we got to see it live and in person. "Don't cross me, ding-dong man," shouted Dr. Carbles. "I will make you regret the day you were born. Nobody messes with me. I'm warning you." I'm going to stop here to point out the word messes because you'll see MESS and then there's the suffix ES. Then he turned around and marched back to school with the other teachers. Mr. Will went back to the ding-dong truck. The excitement was over. We were going to go play on the monkey bars, but we couldn't stop staring at the ding-dong truck and thinking about what was inside it. "I haven't had ice cream in 1,100,000 years," I said. It might be a little bit of an exaggeration there, guys. You had ice cream yesterday, AJ, said Michael. I was over at your house. Remember? Your mom made us banana splits. Well, it feels like that it was 1,100,000 years ago, I said. I need ice cream like other people need air, said Ryan. I can almost taste it, said Alexia. If I don't have ice cream soon, I'm gonna die, said Neil. It's not fair, I said. The ice cream is just sitting right there in the truck, and we can't have it. If only there was some way to sneak out of the playground. I looked at the bottom of the fence. That's when I got the greatest idea in the history of the world. Here it comes, guys. Listen up. Look, I said, we can tunnel our way out. Everybody looked at the bottom of the fence. It was a few inches off the ground. You're right, said Neil. Let's dig a tunnel. AJ, you're a genius. I should get the Nobel Prize for that idea. That's a prize they give out to people who don't have bells. I don't know, said Andrea. Digging a tunnel sounds dangerous. Arlo. Remember, Andrea calls him Arlo, which is his first name, because she knows that he doesn't like it. Danger is my middle name, I replied. I'm scared, said Emily, who's scared of everything. What if you get caught? Asked Andrea. You could get in big trouble, Arlo. Trouble is my other middle name, I said. Come on, guys, start digging. And notice everybody got down on their hands. And right here on the bottom is another asterisk. That's what I was going to say, notice. It really isn't, but I heard somebody say that in a movie once, and it sounded cool. So where was the asterisk? Oh, no? Well, guys, I don't see an asterisk on that page, so I'm not sure why we got a footnote. Okay, so got down on their hands and knees and started digging out the dirt under the fence. Hurry up, said Ryan. Dr. Carbles could come back out here any second. After 1,100,000 minutes, we dug out enough dirt so I could fit under the fence. Okay, wish me luck, I said, as I started to slide under. Wait a minute, Michael said. Do you have any money? Oh, yeah, ice cream costs money. Everybody emptied their pockets. Neil had 4 pennies. Michael had 2 quarters. Alexia had a quarter and some dimes. Ryan had some lifesavers. They gave it all to me. I didn't feel good about this. I don't feel good about this, Arlo, Andrea said. A man's got to do what a man's got to do, I told her. It was nice knowing you, AJ, said Alexia. She put her hand on my shoulder. I thought she might cry. If I don't make it back alive, I told her, you can have my skateboard, Alexia. Ryan and Michael pulled up the bottom of the fence a little so I could fit under it. I'm going in, guys, I said. If you don't make it back, Arlo, said Andrea, I will always remember you. Ooh, Ryan said. Andrea said she'll always remember AJ. They must be in love. When are you going to get married? Asked Michael. If those guys weren't my best friends, I would hate them. I slid under the fence and climbed out the other side. I was free. All right, we're at chapter 3. Ice cream is ice cream. So guys, I'm going to stop reading there. And today, while you are reading, I pointed out as I was reading several words that had suffixes. Unfortunately, I didn't see a word in my book that had a prefix. There's probably going to be one later, though. But as you are reading today, I want you to watch out for words that have prefixes and or suffixes. You're also going to complete a reading assignment, but when you are looking for words with prefixes and suffixes in your independent reading, a book of your choice, write those down and let's keep a track and see what we can come up with. Love you guys. I miss you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.